Reclaiming our stories, reclaiming our lives. This old building holds many stories. In 1971, the same year the Aboriginal flag was first created, a new organisation was formed, the Aboriginal Legal Rights Movement. It began in this building, which at the time belonged to a well-known lawyer, Elliot Johnson. The Aboriginal Legal Rights Movement was formed to pursue justice for the Aboriginal peoples of South Australia, especially for those Aboriginal people who are in police custody or imprisoned. Here in Australia, the police, the courts and prisons are more like an injustice system than a justice system. Just look at the vast numbers of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in prison and the effects it has on our communities. Before 1788, there were hundreds of different legal systems and concepts of justice among Aboriginal peoples, but no prisons, which also means there were no deaths in custody. In the 1980s, the Aboriginal Legal Rights Movement campaigned for a Royal Commission to be held into Aboriginal deaths in custody. In 1984, this building changed hands to become the Dulwich Centre, one of the homes of narrative therapy and community work. One of the recommendations of the Royal Commission into Aboriginal deaths in custody was to provide culturally appropriate counselling to Aboriginal families who had lost a family member to death in custody. Tim Agis was the head of the Aboriginal Health Council at this time, and he had made a trip to this building to visit Michael White and Cheryl White at the Dulwich Centre. He already knew the building well from its Aboriginal Legal Rights Movement days. Together, the Aboriginal Health Council and the Dulwich Centre then formed a partnership to create a community gathering for all families across the state who continue to grieve. This gathering took place at Camp Coorong and was called Reclaiming Our Stories, Reclaiming Our Lives. My grandma, Barbara Wingard, was one of the team of workers for this gathering. This is how she describes the experience.
As long as we work in partnership together and share together, I think these gatherings can work really, really well. This is because the gatherings are really run by the communities and the people themselves. We, the team, would become the listening team, the witnesses, but the themes for discussion and the program for the gathering were all developed from the initial consultations. People are the experts in their own lives. These are their stories, their lives, and we should be very grateful that they trust us enough to share them with us.
All of these stories are in some way linked to this place, this building. Before we walk down Carrington Street to the Parklands, there are other stories to tell about this building. Elliot Johnson was the only recognised communist to serve as a judge in South Australia. These were his offices, and meetings of the Communist Party were held upstairs. During the Vietnam War, young men came to this building to meet Elliot Johnson and his law firm, desperate to avoid the draft. Meanwhile, ASIO officers in this building across the road conducted surveillance. As we walk down the road, keep an eye out for any dodgy characters. They could be ASIO agents.